It looked like that Delaware was going to suffer the brunt of the damage. I mean, it was looking bad, and it was scary.
The day after Sandy hit, Delaware Governor Jack Markell went up in a helicopter to see the damage for himself.
Fenwick was underwater, West Bethany was underwater, so we were still hit, and of course the Bay Beaches were hit badly.
There was flooding and beach erosion downstate, but Markell says compared to New Jersey and New York, Delaware was spared.
We were lucky, and it's good to be prepared, and we were.
The lowest lying state in the country, Delaware has been preparing for a storm like Sandy and the threat of sea level rise for years now. According to the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, or DNREC, Delaware is expecting between 1.5 to 3 feet of sea level rise by the year 2100. Over the last 100 years, the state says, its water level rose about a foot. Rising sea level predictions and the role people play in climate change continues to be debated. But DNREC Secretary Colin O'Mara says everyone can agree Delaware is vulnerable to extreme storms and flooding.
We saw nor'easters in 2010, we saw Irene in 2011, we saw Sandy in 2012. Whether you challenge the long-term projections around sea level rise, they're the same exact investments we're going to need to make ourselves more resilient so we don't have some of the consequences we saw in New York and New Jersey if we do get hit with a storm.
3 years ago, DNREC convened a sea level rise advisory committee, bringing together representatives from the state, the private sector, and environmental organizations. Brenna Goggin with the Delaware Nature Society was a member of the committee, charged with a two-part mission.
One was to identify where the state of Delaware was most vulnerable.
Like our beaches and roads, particularly Route 1, the main evacuation route for beach towns south of the Indian River Inlet Bridge.
Once we identified that and went through the process of collecting data and using that data to make an informed decision, we then had the goal of, we had to come up with strategies.
The committee's recommendations, finalized in May of this year, include improving communication between state, federal, and local agencies as sea level rise adaptation efforts get underway, developing a dike safety program, creating a single point of contact for repairs and management, and increasing public awareness of sea level rise through education and outreach.
When we have other states in the United States that are passing bills and legislation to say sea level rise isn't happening and we aren't going to deal with it, Delaware is definitely the lead state and a prime example for other states to look to.
With a roadmap in place, Goggin says now is the time to get the ball rolling. And from the looks of it, the state is on board. Along with ongoing beach nourishment and dune restoration to protect the state's $7 billion coastal industry, Delaware is shoring up its 5 dikes along the Delaware River. Plans are also in the works to build a 20-acre wetland in Southbridge, a Wilmington neighborhood notorious for flooding.
A lot of the water that's coming from these communities is actually going to be drained into this direction. And then as it's going through this natural wetland system, the pollutants will come out, will slow down the volume of water, and then it'll be put back into the Christina.
Additionally, the governor signed an executive order in mid-September directing state agencies to integrate sea level rise predictions when it comes to future investments and planning.
We're going to have questions about what we do with some low-lying communities that keep getting inundated. We're taking some near-term steps to try to protect them, but what's it going to look like in 30, 40, and 50 years? And so these are some of the conversations we're going to have.